Hello everyone, it's Mr. Galindo here. Welcome to another short video about technology. And in this video we're going to be looking at how we install a slicer, which is a name for software that slices an STL file. And what that means we can do is convert an STL file into G-code. The G-code we feed to a 3D printer so we can print that file. So if you've made a 3D model and you want to print that, this is the process you might go through to get your file ready for printing. So at school we've just installed a lot of Prusa printers, and so we need to get the slicer relevant for that kind of printer. So they're made by a mob called Prusa, and so I generally find their website by selecting Prusa Research. Once I've done that, and you want the one here that's called Prusa 3D, I can open it. And as they say here, we've got the Mark III, which is now out, but we want software from them so we can print using it. So I'm going to go to the Download Drivers and Firmware page. And from here, we've got three options: Firmware, Drivers Handbook. You want to know how to use the printer? Handbook's a good idea to have a read of. Firmware, that's for updating the software on the machine, but we want to download the driver to actually run the software on our computer. Now, we don't want to download the full package that's 450 meg. We want to download the smaller one that's just for the install. So I've gone to GitHub here where they've saved their most recent edition, which is 1.39.2. We're going to download the DMG because I'm on a Mac today. Now if you're on a PC, you can do the same thing, just using the PC download. And then we'll wait for this to finish downloading. Now that's finished downloading, we can open it. And on a Mac, the install process is basically we need to drag it into our applications folder. So this is like a USB, virtual USB we call them. And the slicer here is what we want, and we need to drag it down into applications. So I'm going to just literally click, drag it down, drop it in the folder, and there you go, it's now installed. So I'm going to exit that slicer, and in fact I'm going to go to here where it's underneath devices and eject it because I don't need it anymore. I've now installed the application, and I'm going to open my applications, click S to find Slice, or the first S program, and open up Slicer. So because this is a new program that I haven't opened before, I will need to select yes, I'm happy to open it from the internet. You may need to go to your system preferences if it doesn't let you do that. If you don't know how to do that, you'll need to come find me. So now we have, as it says at the top, the slicer, Prusa edition. And so this is a program that allows us to manipulate some settings to try and get the best quality prints we can. And obviously it works in 3D. So I'm going to zoom in slightly there on the build plate. Now, you may have been asked to, before you get to this stage, what printer you've got. Now for us at Brighton Secondary, we've got Prusa i3 Mark IIIs. So those are the ones that you would need to select. And so you need to double check before you do much else that you have got that set up correctly. You know, the printer needs to be the i3 Mark III, not the 0.6 nozzle, not the 0.25. We don't have those nozzles. We've just got the i3 Mark III, which is with a 0.04 model, the standard one. So now let's try adding in a print file. So let's go add. I'm going to go to my desktop because I've got quite a few on there, and I've got one. I think the Taplit's probably a reasonable one we can practice on. That looks good. So I'm going to open that, and now that's installed or been placed onto the build plate, I can see that maybe the orientation isn't the best for printing. It's got grooves for easy manipulation and some ergonomics there, and that means that there's a groove on the bottom, which isn't great. We want to try and have a flat surface on the bottom, so I'm going to rotate this around. That's not even taking into consideration the fact that trying to print a circle vertically is never a good idea. We always try and do them from the horizontal. So I'm going to select it, going to right click, whoops, and I'm going to go to rotate. Now I'm going to rotate it around the x-axis, and you can see that it's nicely color coded there for you, and I'm going to go 90 degrees, and so now it's on the flat bottom, which makes it a lot better to print. If I needed more of them, I could have right clicked and gone to set number of copies, but I only wanted one, so I'm going to leave that as it is. For good printers, normally you don't have to do much else than this, but I know that the last one I printed was slightly too small, and I do want to use this G-code, so I'm going to scale this model by changing it to 102%, and so it should now just jump in size slightly, and it did, and so that will probably now fit better. The next thing you need to be thinking about are your settings, and the quick and easy usable settings are here on the right hand side. So print settings, 0.15 is optimal for the Mark III, and that's true. The filament, if I wanted to specify different filament, I could do that. If I wanted to do it fast, I could select the fast option. If I wanted ultra fine detail, I could select ultra detail, but for the most part, optimal is going to be perfectly fine for something of this size. It's not a finished piece of art, for example, so I don't need to worry about that. It needs to be functional. The filament I am going to use Prusa PLA. I'm going to just leave that on as settings, and obviously, hopefully you'll have a bit of opportunity to play around with different filaments, and thus you would need to watch a video that explains the different settings you might have to manipulate to do with speeds and temperature. Like most G-codes, there's things you have to edit and keep in line. And then the printer, I'm just going to double check again, is correct. I'm going to go slice now. In the bottom right corner you've got a time bar. It's just slicing it. And so I could look at that now in preview, and I could actually see all of the different layers. And you can see the thread there spinning around as we decrease the layers. Now I've gone for pretty low grade infill there, as you can see. It's kind of continually warping its way around, and that should be fine. I could now go to export G-code, so I'm going to export this to the tap lid on my desktop. But if I was say at school and I checked with my teacher that I could print, I might be exporting this directly to the SD card for the printer, which would be a lot easier. Now once I've done that, it's exported, and so if I actually go to my desktop, I could probably find that file. So let's have a look for it. Let's go for date modified, and I'm going to sort by just name. There you go, G-code tap lid. If I open that, you can actually see exactly what it is. This is obviously a really long list of numbers and letters, which tells the computer what it needs to do. So TextEdit is the program you'd open it in on a Mac. And you can see there your code. So if I wanted to do something to do with changing the color halfway through, maybe I'd specify exactly what layer I want to go to. But it's a pretty long file, as you can see, and that's all detailed that the machine needs to, the 3D printer needs to actually print properly. You can also now see the, oh, I can't actually do that, that's fine. Cool, alright, so that's the process of going from an STL file to a G-code that can be printed. And if you were working on a project, say in another class, in another part of the school, and you needed to print something, this would be what I'd ask you to do to try and get your file ready for print, and then you could send me that G-code. And you know, depending on the class and the time and whether a print is free, we could probably get it done in a day. So thanks for listening. I hope that helps. I hope you enjoy having a crack at trying to get files ready for 3D printing. Good luck.